Well, I'm John Hore, H-O-R-E, and I was born in Richmond, Surrey in 1929. That makes me 81, would you believe? The key is to take some exercise, I think. So far as the Montcrest is concerned, I was 3 years on the board, and to the best of my knowledge it was the early 70s, and I did have a good chat with Catherine. It's wonderful to see her again. I'm sorry that she's got a hip problem, but I think my predecessor was Mr. Horner, what was the first name? And then he wanted to retire, so they brought me in 3 years. I was never chairman of the board, but this was Professor O'Grady, who was a professor of English, I think, and the two of us kind of more or less ran it, and and of the various things we did, I thought it was useful if we could do a 5-year plan. You know, this seemed to be a pretty good idea. And as soon as we had, you know, just a piece of paper with 5 years and sort of revenue and expense, and you put in as much detail as you can, and not too much in the way of, you know, you're not going to get 15% growth every year, but you know, you might be able to get 5% or something, and you're also gradually going to build up the numbers. And the other thing I can think of is the school was, and Dr. Livingston's concept, 15% was dyslexic. We reckoned that the percentage would be held down to about that. Otherwise we could be submerged, you know, and it would then become a totally dyslexic school, which was not the intention, but I think it was useful that you got a good 15% mixing with the school population and so on. But you wanted this group which shouldn't feel left out of it, yep, and would mix and mingle with the general population. Yep. So I think the other thing that I thought was useful, my friend happened to be on the Metro School Board, and I said, well, is it possible, because he's a lawyer, and I said, isn't it possible that you could write a constitution? You know, what a terrible imposition to put on people. But he did it, and it's David Ross, so it should be in the archives somewhere. He's now 85, and World War II, you know, doesn't look it, but 85. And those are more or less the three salient points of what I was all about. And I came and went for 3 years, and that was it. Well, I'm told it's now 300. I think what we were trying to do was to gradually increase the numbers, 25, and then 30, and then 35, and then 35. All our 3 kids were there, and 2 of the 3 were on that January school thing initially. And I can't remember exactly when that happened. It might have happened in the 60s or something. And then Charlie Gumby, I think possibly he had, and his wife obviously had a a child at the school, and so it seemed to be a marriage sort of 100% good, and it was then an anonymous donor basically, and we found out about it. Well, in other words, Dr. Livingston found out about it, and I learned 2 or 3 years after that. But the main contact person, I think, was a friend of mine called Julian Hutchinson, who, would you believe, for the last 40 years has still been working at Gundy and Company. As an interregnum, on the January School they had a place on Spadina, right. And then on St. Clair, the church, the Unitarian Church. Yeah, which might have been for a year or two.